What's up everyone, Sag here, and today I'm going to be making a tier list of the golden pack for 1v1 versus, basically against all packs. I thought about mirrors as well, but I think they're pretty similar in terms of like what pets are going to be good, I would say. So you take a quick look here, you can notice that there's a lot of really good pets in golden pack, I think. A lot of them in A, clearly it's like the biggest tier. I mean, clearly most of them SAB, which is going to be really good. Hey, that's close to SAG. But we are going to start with probably the F tiers and work our way up. And I think I'm fairly qualified to talk about this list. You know, I'm rated over 2,000 on golden pack. And I play against other packs quite often. Play against Kyogre often. I think my knowledge on pack 4 is pretty good. And I know a lot of people have been asking about tier lists and whatnot, and I think I don't know if we're going to do 4 individual ones. It's so much better than doing like just one big one of all the pets, because I feel like, oh sweet lord, that video would be forever. So we have Bulldog here at the top of F tier for tier 1s. I suppose the way that I did this is tier 1s are going to be on the left, so the strongest things are also going to be on the left. And it works our way from tier 1 to tier 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's not to say that Bulldog is stronger than Wildebeest, it's just that it is the strongest tier 1 in F tier. Which is pretty damn weak. It's really bad most of the time. You'd just be better off having another tier 1. So Catfish, there are no tier 2 through 5 F tiers in my opinion, so we're jumping straight to tier 6 for Catfish. It really only has one use case scenario, and that's with Bro. I think you basically can only use it if you have a level 2 Bro on turn 9 and you have like over 3 or 4 life. I suppose maybe if you have 5 or 6 life and you have a level 1 Bro and you get it on turn 9, you can do it. But without life, it is very bad. Wildebeest. What can I even say about this guy? He basically only works with Beluga. Like, yeah, you can try to build him up, but all the other tier 6s, and honestly, even tier 3s are better to buff than the Wildebeest. It costs 4 trumpets to get at the coconut, which almost always, I would say almost never works. Not almost always. Almost, like, never really means anything. Yeah, I've had a case where it meant something, but realistically, like, it's not going to win me the game. Whereas, like, if we were to get, like, Warthog, or Cobra, or German Shepherd, or even a Highland Cow, we have a much higher chance of winning the game. Also, spinning the trumpets is just actively bad. You can try to convince me otherwise, but I've already had some convincing done, and I don't think I can move it out of F tier. Into D, we have Cone Snail. You know, it's you don't really want to see it. It's pretty decent, like, it's okay. Especially with Bulldog, which that again isn't like the best comparison, but it's also okay with Chipmunk. It's not horrible. You're not going to keep it around for too long, but you don't you'd still feel kind of bad for picking it up. Pied Tamarin basically only works with Cherry or Groundhog. If you have Cherry or Groundhog, like, let's say you always had 1 trumpet to spend, it probably would be A tier, but the fact that, like, you can get a Pied Tamarin and not have a Groundhog to go with it makes it really, really bad. Has a horrible stat line as well. Same with Cone Snail. Skipping straight into tier 3, we have Flying Fish. Like, Flying Fish is okay. Its best case scenario is with Beluga. But you really don't want to have it around for that long. And if you do, then you have to have stuff like Lizard and Osprey. You can maybe have Slug too to combo with it. Otherwise, it's pretty bad. You also have to keep it in, like, the back of your team. It has really low health, its stat line isn't that good, and overall there's just so many other better tier 3s that you would want to have on your team. We have Meerkat. Sort of the same situation. I would say it is slightly better. I should do it this way. I think Meerkat's better than Flying Fish. Getting the attack is really nice in the non-mirror. In the mirror, it's almost useless. But in the non-mirror, it can be pretty good, but it's always outclassed by African Penguin. You get permanent attack with this. Like, it's just, it's a no competition. Yeah, poor little guy. His stat line is shit too. So his redeeming quality is that he is a tier 3, so he is like a decent lettuce target. But other than that, he's pretty bad. Actually, he might... No, I think he's better than Flying Fish in most cases. Moving on to tier 4, we have Vaquita. Basically, its only good use case is Chocolate Cake, a Vaquita, while you already have a Niala, or if you have like a beefed up Blackneck Stilt with like Cherry. I suppose maybe if you got like an early Saiga Antelope and a lot of summons. Overall, it's just not going to be good most of the time. You'd rather have like the other Niala or whatever. Yeah, use cases aren't very high, but when you do find a good case, it is actually really good. I feel like unlike most of these other ones, but I still can't move it into C tier, I don't think. Moving on to tier 5, we have Nurse Shark. Again, spends a lot of trumpets, which most of the time is just going to hit a pretty shit unit. So it has like the same problem as Wildebeest, but this can actually just be like really, really good. When you level up Wildebeest, it doesn't really get that much better. When you level up Nurse Shark, though, you have a higher chance of hitting something that actually matters. And I think with that, with Chocolate Cake, it is actually fairly good. You're still only spending 6 trumpets. So I think it's pretty nice in that scenario. God, for a second, I thought I wasn't recording. Moving on to Egyptian Vulture. Now, I originally had it in F tier, but I was convinced that it should be at least D tier because it has the combo with Fig now, as well as Tomato, as well as Chocolate Cake. So there are 3 decent perks that you can put on this to potentially activate it. And if you do have a big Warthog, or if you have like a level 2 Niala, I think even like with a Flea, all of these can be very good to reactivate. So I think for that, it's D tier. It's really hard to scale up though. You get it so late, and its stat line isn't like the most impressive thing. It's alright at like a 7-4, but again, tier 5s. The tier 5s for Golden Pack are rather weak, I feel like. Moving on to Highland Cow. At least it gives you trumpets, which is the benefit over Wildebeest. It takes at least 24 health at level 1 to give you as much as 1 Niala, which is really bad, because it's already kind of hard to scale, and especially with health. I think health is a little bit harder to scale, because like, what do you have? Sea Lion and Baboon? Yeah, it's not, it's going to take a long time to get up to 24 health. If you get it to level 2 really quickly, I mean, like, yeah, it's pretty decent, but like, any of the other ones are probably just better to have. And like, other than that, it's a pretty like fat body. You could maybe live a little bit, put a durian on it or something. I don't know. It's just not good enough to be up here, because most of the time, especially in 1v1s, like, you can't really build it up. You just need that quick trumpet insertion or something like that. Moving on to Pteranodon, I couldn't put it any higher than D because it has very, very use cases. It's mostly Niala Chocolate Cake with Nurse Shark, and like maybe you can do it with Flea. The fact that they come out as 1/1, you have like big positioning issues with it as well. It's just, it can't be any higher than this. It gets sniped by Fig so often. You have to have a potato with it too. It's just, oh god, there's so many problems. Moving into C tier, we have Magpie. I'm a Magpie hater, but I think it is just like a very average pet. You can save gold with it sometimes, you know, get 1 extra roll next turn. It's not horrible. 1/4 stat line kind of sucks, but it's actually not that bad, especially because you can just Magpie stack, which is what people do often if you get the Magpie start. So overall, like, you can start with a 2/5. It's not horrible, but it's not really that good. Moving on to Gazelle. Gazelle kind of has the same problem with Magpie. It's sort of like negative tempo the turn you buy it. You always have to have a gold pet, or you have to have bought an avocado, which makes it a big problem to buy when there's so many other better tier 2s. And it basically only works with Magpie if you get it like that and like level into Weasel. And so for that, I think it's pretty average. If you have all of that, though, it's really good. C tier for me. Moving on to Sea Turtle. Sea Turtle might be better than Gazelle, now that I think about it. It just has way more cases with all the summon opportunities you have. It, of course, is very position reliant, but I think it's rather decent. Flycatcher, when it works, and when it doesn't, it doesn't. Most of the time it doesn't, though. But you have to acknowledge the times where it just absolutely shreds a summon team, and it can put in the work. So for that, I would have to at least put it here. I don't think I can put it higher than C, and it definitely isn't a D tier. It's very I would say, I guess it's kind of average. Speaking of average, we have Surgeon Fish. Got to spend 2 trumpets to get 6 health. Seems really bad because that's 6 stats. Beta Fish gives 6 stats for free and is a feint pet with all the feint synergy. Yeah, it's just kind of bad. Now, I don't think it's that bad because of the cherry change. You can have cherry, which means you can have Surgeon Fish up front. This was like a very, very important thing. The position, because like you already had to position with Surgeon Fish, it made it so much harder to use. Now you are a lot more flexible with it. And honestly, it can go kind of crazy if you get more than 2 trumpets. Like if you actually have 4 or 6 and get multiple triggers, you can get up to 50 health pretty easily. Oh, sweet Lord, I needed some water. God help me. Only 11 minutes in. Silver Fox. It gives you money. That's always good. The only problem is you get it on, you know, tier 5, turn 9, potentially turn 7. Base stats are kind of shit. Manta Ray's at a 5-6, Silver Fox at a 3-6 or something. That's just kind of bad. But money is money, so I think it would have to be at least C tier. Emu, thank God. Eggplant doesn't exist anymore, because if it did, that's where he'd be headed. But since Eggplant doesn't exist anymore, Emu, I think, is actually like a pet. It works very, very well with PDF and Cobra. That's a huge synergy for both of those. And I think for that, it belongs in at least C tier with the other pretty average pets for the most part. Because when you level into these pets or find them, you're like, do I really need that pet? But the times where it does work out on your team, you're like, okay, that's pretty nice. Moving on to B tier, we have Goose. Pretty strong. I was almost convinced putting it in A because it helps you win so many of the early rounds, and that's like super important, being able to trade efficiently. But I felt that it wasn't on the same level as Groundhog and Chipmunk. I think they have a few more use cases. So for that, B tier. And these are like a little bit above average, I would say. Silk Moth, it has pretty decent synergies. If you're able to hit like pretty good breakpoints with it, it feels good. And then it works really well with Manatee. I think that's probably like one of its best things. You keep it healthy for until you get Crane. Yeah, definitely a B tier pet. We have Doorhead Ant, combos really well with Beta Fish. Just gives a lot of health to itself. It's really easy to get attacked with African Penguin. It's all around a really solid unit. It's not a feint pet though, so I think it's B tier. I could see the argument, but I think these tier 2s are objectively better. Speaking of, I was going to say objectively better pets. This is not an objectively better pet than Doorhead Ant. It is like a worse African Penguin. At least you can store up the attack. I think that's really nice, and has really, really solid base stats at a 3-4. I think that's why it's B tier for me. I think it could be considered C, but I've been feeling pretty good about it. Oh, we have the high roll pet Stoat Gamba. I wanted to put Stoat in C tier, but I was convinced otherwise. There's no way I could put it A tier. It is such a negative tempo loss. I hate doing Stoat so much. But if you can get a level 2 Stoat, and you can sell it on turn 5 or turn 7, a lot of people like to sell it on turn 7, greed that long, because you can get crazy like Cockatoo High Roll, Secretary Bird, stuff like that. I like selling it on turn 5 because I don't really want to keep the Stoat on my team for that much longer. And if I don't level it up by turn 5, I really don't want to keep it at all. The high rolls are high, but the low rolls are very low. And I think for that, it has to be here. Guinea Fowl, tier 3, just a solid unit. Like, it's just always solid to Apple. Trumpets are good, being able to get it. You're guaranteed 2 trumpets, which is just solid in my book. And it has, like, a really high ceiling. You can get a lot more trumpets than that. Don't think it's A tier. It's not a faint pet. Big problem. Muskox, really high tempo. Not a faint pet. Works well with faint pets. It lost its synergy with Manatee. Used to get permanent attack that way. Nerfed for customs. Yeah, people say like Muskox should probably be in C tier or something, and I disagree. Just run like a Groundhog, run an Osprey. Osprey especially is so good with Muskox. Get it to level 2, it's actually quite the powerhouse. It is very similar to Secretary Bird. And if Secretary Bird's that strong, why can't Muskox be that strong? Riddle me that. Moving on to Manta. I think Manta Ray, I almost put it in A tier, but I think I'm a little biased. And I think it actually belongs in B tier because it is incredibly hard to use. You have to run a 4 squad. And it's basically a part of the money build. You have Manta Ray, Macaque, Bop, and then basically a pet of your choosing. Sometimes it's Weasel, sometimes it's Silver Fox for more money. And sometimes it's like Flea, Beluga, Warthog, it could be anything. But those 3 are pretty core to the build. And if you don't get them, you're probably going to have a hard time. You're going to have to start running a 5 squad, you start losing your money. But it can still work out. And I think it's kind of like Stoat in this matter. Hard to use, really, I would say pretty high risk, but huge reward. Moving on to Saiga Antelope, slightly worse than Manta Ray, in my opinion. But still fairly good. I almost wanted to rate it C tier, but the amount of trumpets you can get from it are actually, like, very, very reasonable. And it means, like, a big difference, because sometimes, like, you know, people will have, like, a couple of trumpet guys, but if you already have a couple of trumpet guys yourself and Saiga Antelope, you're always over-trading their Retriever, which is really, really good. And it's like, if you don't hit Saiga Antelope, this isn't like an amazing replacement, but it is a decent replacement. PDF is a lot better. It could be considered A tier. I don't think I want to put it there because of Fig kind of has to have Potato on it. Most of these other ones can get out of the 4 health range pretty easily. PDF cannot, though. You gotta waffle it, gotta potato it, whatever you gotta do. But it is really, really good with, of course, Slug, Beluga, Emu, Onion. So it has its advantages. I feel like for the most part, you almost always need Flea. The weakness is very important. It's going to hit the highest health guys, which means PDF is always going to target them. Their synergy is very, very high together. I normally like to have Banana Flea with PDF second. Attempt to pick up an Emu if I can. Run the Slugs. You will start doing a lot of damage, I tell you. Moving on to Cuttlefish. The ink that you get from Cuttlefish is really, really powerful. You're able to overtrade, or not overtrade, you're able to outtrade quite effectively with this ink. It has amazing base stats at an 8-4, tier 4, and it is a feint pet. Anything that is a feint pet is always going to be rated slightly higher than if it wasn't, just because of the inclusions of Chocolate Cake and or, what's your name? Cockatoo and Possum. So those all just always get like a bump up. Sadly, Nurse Shark and Pied Tambourine and Vikita, they might be an F tier if they weren't Fate pets. Yeah, like imagine Pied Tambourine at a start of battle. Oh my god, dude. That'd be so bad. Moving on to Slug. Feint pet. It has a lot of synergies, especially with PDF, Beluga Slug, German Shepherd. It's just super good in general. Secretary Bird. Some could put it in A tier. I doubt it, though. Some could have put it in C tier. I could see that. But I think it is slightly above average with how many synergies it has. It can be countered quite a bit. You run into a Guinea Fowl. You run into Camel. It can be sniped pretty easily with like Fig and whatnot. But easy to get out of the 4 health range. Pretty easy to get out of the 5 health range as well for something like Snake. I guess I haven't really been talking about the other packs too much, but it sort of reigns true for even the mirror. Moving on to Wolf. I think Wolf could have been an A tier, but I think, again, it sort of has the same problem with Slug, where it can be out-traded quite heavily, or if it's sniped, it's kind of useless. It loses out on 2 pigs. That's a big deal. You can't pill it, so it's not like you can get pigs, combine them or whatever. So it loses like a case there. It is just a very good, strong unit with German Shepherd, with Secretary Bird, all the good guys, of course. And it is a feint pet. Imagine that. We have Macaque. Now, I thought about putting Macaque in C tier, but the orangutan that you get is actually like crazy strong. So Macaque has the best base stats in the game out of any pet at a... Is Macaque a 1-1 or a 2-2? It's like 14-14 because you get the 12-12 orangutan. And then you also get like a free banana or durian. It's just super solid. You don't have to run it with Manta Ray, but if you do pick it up, you're probably always looking for Manta Ray, because if you're running a 4-squad, you gotta have this guy. I think it's a very strong unit, though, especially when you are able to make it fit with your team. And that brings us to Bop. Now, I like Bop. I think it's really strong, but where it falls flat is that you have to have gold. You have to have a decent bit of gold or be running the 4-squad. If you're running the 4-squad, it's amazing. It's easily the strongest scaler you could be using. If you aren't, though, you don't have a buy-sell slot, it feels really bad. You're only able to get like 1 trigger per turn. Even if you avocado, you still are only at 13 gold, which isn't enough to get 2 triggers. You would have to have a level 1 Weasel. You would have to have Silver Fox, something along those lines. And so I think for that, it's going to be in B tier. Low base stats. If you get it on 9, it feels really good. You're able to build around it a bit quicker. But if you get it on 11, on curve, probably not going to be too good for you. It gets outclassed by, I think, Sea Lion a lot of the time. Or just Bro, just keeping Bro and waffling it and finding more. Moving on to A tier, we have Groundhog. Groundhog's just good. It's a feint pet. You get a trumpet. We have a lot of trumpet activations. You get a summon. Like, it's just solid. Base stats aren't the best at a 2-1, but I think it's still good enough. Imagine if it was like a 2-2. That'd be crazy. We have Chipmunk. Works really well with Cherry, Fig, Banana, however long you are trying to keep it for. I mostly like it with Fig, but sometimes you have to rip that Cherry. And honestly, it feels really good because Cherry was buffed, so in turn, Chipmunk was buffed, especially with Fig being added as well. I think it's incredibly strong. Being able to duplicate those, you get them for 1. I think it makes sense being an A tier. I might overvalue it a little bit. I don't think I do, though. I'm not biased. Chipmunk's good. Believe me, it's got good base stats too. 3-2. I think that's really important. You're able to out-trade a lot on the early turns because of it. We have Sea Urchin, our first tier 2 and A tier. It's good. It's good feint pet. It's incredibly strong against other packs that like to get a lot of health. Tropical Fish, Camel with Rabbit, or just Camel in general just has like high base health. Being able to take out the health on something is like super good. And then you can position in such a way that the second unit is like really small, so you always like value trade super well. It's just super solid. Of course, it's a feint pet as well, and yeah, good base stats, 3-2. Stack them up together, you have like 1 Sea Urchin, another Sea Urchin. They just feel really good together. We're going to Lizard. Lizard gives you 2 tails on hurt, and these tails are really good. If you can get even the mildest of health onto a lizard through like Secretary Bird or even Surgeon Fish, I feel like could actually work in this situation. You can use Beta Fish. There's a lot of ways to be able to buff it up, at least temporarily. Hitting it with a Baboon just feels amazing. Getting an early Sea Lion, it's just so good. 2 summons. Both those summons are 3-1 or 6-2. 9-3 if you get it to level 3. That's probably not happening. But really good. And even if you're always guaranteed at least 1 summon, it's just a really, really solid pet. I'm surprised that it used to have unlimited triggers. That shit's crazy, because you could keep it like forever if that was the case, and like buff it up super big. I suppose Durian would kind of take it out. It just has so many synergies and has such high tempo. But I think it is slightly worse than Sea Urchin, ever so slightly, because it's not a faint pet. Speaking of a faint pet, we have Blackneck Stilt. Getting 2 trumpets is just solid, super solid. Again, trumpet activation is super important. Twice as much as Groundhog. Let's go, baby. And then I feel like you can actually keep it kind of late. You get it to level 2, put a cherry on it. That's 6 trumpets. You can potentially activate a Nurse Shark with chocolate cake. I mean, sounds fucking good to me. Moving on to Squid. Ink is super solid, but what's really important about this is that it's a faint pet, but also its base stats are absurd at a 5-2. That is, there is no pet in tier 3 that even has 5 attack. If you are able to get even a smidgen of health onto this Squid, you are feeling good. So, like, leveling into Baboon on turn 3 into Squid, oh baby, you're feeling good. You have a Groundhog because you knew that you'd need this Groundhog, or you immediately buy a cherry. You can run front Squid. I think the ink is actually like really important if you're fighting against like Rhino, or honestly if you just want a value trade. Super solid unit. Kind of clashes with Flea. You normally want to have Flea most of the time, so I think that's like what's keeping it back from being S tier. There's probably a couple other things keeping it back. I would say, because it's clearly not the best tier 2. So there's a few other things keeping it back. Beta Fish. Oh, dude, what do I say about my Beta Fish? Fucking fantastic. +4, +2. Dude, what crack are they smoking over there? That's so good. That's crazy how good that is. I mean, like, it's a bit easier to get attack. So it's not like that good, but if you're able to put it on like a pet that already has like low health, high health, low attack, then it just feels so much better. It's a faint pet. What can I say other than it's amazing? Super high tempo. It's sort of on par with a hatching chick if you think about it, but it's like it works in reverse. Okay, we're gonna move on from that. Weasel, faint pet, gold, great base stats, 3-4, gold. Faint pet, gold, Weasel. It's good. It's just good. Now, it can't be S tier good. It could be S tier good. Gold is good. No, I think it probably stays here because it's slightly worse than Beta Fish. Gold is good, but tempo is better. Moving on to Osprey. Speaking, is tempo really better? This tempo is not as good as this gold, I would say. Osprey's kind of insane, though. Actually, maybe it might be better. Osprey's pretty insane. I would compare it to a slug. Cheesemaster would call me insane. And I would stick to my story. And I will, right now. You get a 2-1 Groundhog out of this sucker. And if you have no other trumpets, you get another 1-1 Golden Retriever. How is that not a slug? Okay? And if you do have other trumpets, then you just get like a really big slug at the end. You feel me? It's just super good. There's so many good synergies with it. Secretary Bird, German Shepherd, PDF, Cobra. Need I say more? Moving on to tier 4, we have Falcon. Amazing in the mirror. Amazing in the non-mirror. You want to steal Turtle? Oh god, does it feel good to steal Turtle. You get to steal Niala? Sweet Jesus, that's like game winning. You get to steal Pangolin. It does literally nothing for you because you cannot possibly get a toy. It's still pretty damn good though. 4-4 stat line, not the best, but you can level up into it on 5. You can stack up its stats up pretty nicely, I would say. And for the most part, if you're stealing something, it's going to feel good. So it's sort of like, it's a summon pet as well, and you can get up to 3 summons with it. All that can be extremely good depending on your opponent. In the mirror, it's absolutely cracked. I would say in the non-mirror, it's slightly worse, but still very, very good overall. Moving on, we have Manatee. Manatee is insane. Okay, actually, it should be higher than Falcon. It's a scaler. Scaling is always amazing in the pack. It works incredibly well with Crane and Pita Bread. Oh, buddy, my boy Pita Bread, if you make it to turn 11. And I think for that, it is close to making it up here in S tier, but it does 5 damage to itself every turn. And for that, it's in A tier. Cockatoo. The Cockatoo high rolls are insane, absolutely absurd, but I don't like keeping Cockatoo on board. It clogs up the board that way. Sometimes it's just better to cycle that bad boy. So I thought about putting it in S tier, but I think I was convinced out of it. Yeah, especially when you... So now that Cockatoo does only focus one Faint Pet, if you do only have one Faint Pet, you can also... You're very susceptible to Durian, which is a big problem. Moving on, we have Crane. I think Crane is a pretty close contender to being an S tier. Melon is so strong, it's absurd. The only problem is that it is hard to fit the Crane in exactly where you want it, like at all times. It is at least better now that it is a 6.5 and not a 9.3. At a 9.3, it got hit by Skewer, dead. Chili, dead. It's still dead by Chili, but it's easy to get out of that 5 health range. Snake, dead. What else? Very low Cobra Snipe, dead. You had to have Potato. You still kind of want Potato, but it's not as required anymore. We have Fire Ant. Fire Ant's just really, really good. It works so well with, like, Warthog, with Cobra, with German Shepherd. It works amazing in the Beluga with Chocolate Cake. Activating these 3, I think, are, like, insanely important. Especially these 2. They are so hard to get online. And this is, like, a huge jump start. You can also pair it with, like, Beta Fish. You're probably going to have a Beta Fish of sorts, you know. That's going to be good. If you've got an African Penguin you're holding that long, that attack is going to come quite easily to you. If you have a Sea Lion, you can position in such a way to make it work. It's just overall super solid unit. Don't think I can put it in S, though. Tier 6, we have Bear. I think Bear is actually better than these 2. In 1v1s, when you are playing Golden Pack, you're normally playing quite heavy on tempo. The other packs can outscale you very, very hard, so you want to win as quickly as possible. And so I think for the most part, I will take Bear over these 2, even in the mirror. Especially when my opponent is at lower life. It's just going to give me more value immediately, let's say. And if you get it to level 2, that's really, really good too. Especially if you have a team that can get you 2 triggers out of it, that's really, really good. So I think for that, it is slightly better. You don't need to build up its stats. It's just immediately good. 6/6 stat line is pretty okay. At least it's not 5 health, because then it can get hit by Snake and whatnot. Slap a Potato on that bad boy and he's safe. I would say the later the game goes, though, it definitely falls off. So normally when you buy it, you want to win quickly. And these 2, I think I can sort of just talk about them in tandem. They work, I would say, essentially the same. They are pretty bad immediately when you buy them. They need a lot of stats and a lot of levels to be better. But once you have those stats and levels, they are absolutely insane. Some people think they should be an S tier. If this was for Arena, I would agree. But this is for 1v1s. If this was for lobbies, I would agree. But again, this is for 1v1s. You aren't going turn 16, 17, 18, where these are like super mega scaled. Sometimes you can get really lucky. You get one really early, get a couple of levels on it, and it actually feels like really, really good to have it on your team. And of course it does. They're fucking insanely strong. They should feel really good to have on your team if you get all of that. They have so many synergies. I mean, they're like the backbones of builds when you get to turn 9 to 11 plus. They're just incredible when you finally have stats on them. I mean, not much more I can say about it. I just can't put it... I can't see myself putting it in S tier because of how weak they are when you initially buy them. We have Oyster next. Money. Money! I buy-sell this all the time. I mean, like, where else can it really be? This could have... I suppose when it was a tier 4, it was S tier, but now that it's a tier 6, you see him a lot less. Poor guy. Still buy-sell him, though. Every chance I get. Free money is free money. You know, I could still see it being an S. You wouldn't... sometimes they do sell something just to sell it, just to get 1 more gold. Nah, it's probably still here. And I think it's worse than these. Moving on to S. I know you wanted to be here. Possum. Possum, Possum, Possum. The only tier 1, quote-unquote, scaler for Pack 4. Doesn't really scale, you can just kind of put the stats onto something one time. It's not even like an African Penguin. African Penguin is more of a scaler than Possum. But the stats that you put onto a Faint Pet, that's why, this is why Faint Pets are so strong, because of this little guy right here. Put those stats onto a Faint Pet, you are feeling like God. If you're able to buy, sell a Possum, that's a 2 gold apple, we call in the business. That's fucking profit. Value. You are living in Value Town when you buy, sell this sucker onto like a tier 3 Faint Pet. Apples are incredibly good. I think apples are S tier in Golden Pack. We're going to go over the foods, I guess a little bit, a quick little rundown of my favorite foods. But this being a 2 gold apple just means so much more. African Penguin. Sweet God. This pet is better than, I would say, half of the tier 3s, 4s, and 5s. Even up into the 5s. Probably better. It's better than Wildebeest. It's probably better than Highland Cow. It's better than all of these pets. It's better than all of these pets. It's better than all of these pets. And it's... this is where it starts to get a little iffy. This might be the top of the top. This might be the best pet, I think. And I might be biased, but I think it is insane. If you just keep buying African penguins, mother of God, will you have so much attack you will not know what to do with it. Waffle this bad boy at level 2, not at level 1. If you're waffling it at level 1, you have a problem on your hands. Level 2, though, that shit's cash money. You are getting 6 stats for 3 gold. 2 attack on most things is very good, especially when you have stuff like Fire Ant and the other attack oriented pets. I can't say enough about it. It's crazy because it also used to be give a random pet +2/+1, which is absurdly strong as well. That's crazy. And it's still incredibly strong, especially when paired with Sea Lion. This can give you the health. African Penguin gives you the attack. It's a beautiful, fucking harmony. Baboon. Oh, sweet God, Baboon. You get a Baboon on turn 3. I have already checked out mentally. I have said, you have won the game, I resign. Because I feel like when they get Baboon on turn 3, you are playing catch up for the rest of the game. Now you can high roll your own African Penguin, potentially your own Baboons on turn 5, maybe double Sea Lion on turn 5, perhaps multiple Bros on turn 7. There are ways to get out of it. All hope is not lost. But I do feel like I feel myself checking out when somebody else gets it. Now, when I get it, I feel like I'm in paradise. Like I've just arrived in heaven, and God has tinked his champagne glass with me. Because it's like, oh baby, it's my turn to be creator. I get the Baboon on 3. It's that strong. I don't know if it's strong as African Penguin, though. I don't know. But I do like to keep Baboon for basically the whole game. You just move up into the tiers while keeping Baboon. It is incredible. Really promotes like good pivoting. If you're bad at the game, I guess Baboon could feel a lot worse. So if you're looking at yourself and being like, Baboon kind of doesn't seem that good, you may need to like look at your gameplay and be like, what am I doing wrong for why Baboon is not working? Because it is absolutely broken. You especially need to focus buffs. If you have like a bunch of shit, you know, then you of the same tier, then you're going to be splitting up these buffs. You eventually have to get rid of something. It feels really bad. You need to isolate these buffs. That's very important. Moving on to Flea. Oh, sweet lord. I don't think it's as good as Baboon because it isn't scaling, but I have Flea in probably 80 to 90% of my games, I would say. Non-mirror, and I would even go as far to say mirror. It's not as important in the mirror, but in the non-mirror especially. Now, they do have turtle and tar and snapping turtle and whatnot. It doesn't matter. You still need it, basically, always. The weakness is so incredibly powerful. It's kind of unreal, especially since Pack 4 deals a lot with summons. So summons and weakness go very well together. And then, of course, a lot of the other packs like to go really big on one unit, and that way you can sort of stop them. Overall, it's just insane. Faint Pet, 4-2. God, what else do you want? I guess I'd want the Sea Lion at turn 5, because Sea Lion on turn 5 is borderline game-winning. Since there are not very many ways to scale, you can see why the scalers are all so high up, because they're so incredibly strong. Sea Lion, you can give attack or health, depending on what you need. I think this is so incredibly important for Fig. So Sea Lion is basically the counter to Fig. You're able to get your things over 4 health, and then you can start buffing attack, whatever you need to do. It's just so good. It's so versatile. There's, you know, just so many ways to play it. And like I said, it's probably better than a lot of the tier 5. So even picking it up on turn 9 is okay, since they're the only scaler on tier 5 is Bro. So it's like you can still pick it up because you probably still don't have scaling. And if you're trying to scale, you pick up Sea Lion. And its base stats are insane at a 3-6. Just incredible. We have Secretary Bird. This is the king of tempo. It is the king of German Shepherd and Cobra. The reason it's in S tier and these two aren't is because this is what makes these even better. This is what makes so many pets so much better, because you're able to get it on turn 5, turn 6. I do like to level up a lot on turn 6 because the tier 4s are that good. So I like to level up a lot. If you get it early, it's just absolutely incredible tempo with summons. Activates a lot of things. There's so many ways to activate it. And even if you don't have that many summons, you can still buy banana and whatnot, activate it that way. It's just insanely good. Bro, oh buddy, this is the king of high rolling. If you are able to get an early bro and just stick with the team that you have, keep waffling, keep buying more bros. It is basically like African Penguin. Like, you use African Penguin up until the point you get bro, because then you sort of swap off of it. You already have all that attack from the Pengu. All you really need is health, and you know what? Bro fucking gives you health, as well as more attack. I mean, sweet Jesus. Yeah, it's Catfish counterpart. You don't really need it, because there's Waffle. That's just a food that you can buy. You don't have to take up a whole slot on your team. And Catfish costs 1 gold anyways. Oh god, it's bad. But Bro is very good. Niala, fucking incredible. 8 trumpets, 3-4, Faint Pet. Oh baby, I'm in heaven. Works really well with chocolate cake, incredibly well with chocolate cake. 6 gold for 16 trumpets. That's a steal, absolute steal. There's not much more I need to say about it. It's just amazing tempo. Beluga, oh baby, Beluga just creme de la creme. Put anything inside him, watch him flourish, especially with chocolate cake. Holy shit, it's just amazing with Warthog, Fire Ant, Beluga, not another Beluga, my bad, Slug, Wolf, Cuttlefish, Nurse Shark, Vaquita. I'd put a Pied Tamarin in that bad boy if I needed to. Flea, needless to say, there's a lot of things that you can put in it and be very, very good. It's incredibly versatile, has amazing stat line at a 3-8. It's very easy to put something inside of it. Chocolate cake works wonders. God, put a banana in there. Oh, do all these nasty things. And last but not least, we have Warthog. The only reason Warthog is over the other two is because of the pet before it, Beluga. Beluga chocolate cake with Warthog is absolutely insane because it is automatically level 2 and has the base stats of 18 attack, which is fucking incredible. And then if you You can also use it with Secretary Bird, basically all the ways that you would use these two, but it feels a bit more impactful when you first buy it, especially if you already have something like Beta Fish, because it does just work that way. Or something similar with Crane, with Fire Ant. These sort of just automatically feel better with it, and these two you still have to build up a bit more for them to be insane. So for that, I think, because its top end is just as insane as these other two, maybe slightly worse, but immediately it is just good, in my opinion. All right, we did it. How long did that take? God, I love to listen to myself talk. Foods. I don't have the list of foods here, but I'll just tell you right now. Apple, waffle, durian, fig, probably all S tier. They're so strong. I buy so many apples. I buy so many figs, so many durians, so many waffles. Like, they're all just super solid. Oh, fuck, dude. I almost forgot about lettuce. Lettuce is S tier. The amount of those suckers I rip, I'll rip them as salads if I need to sometimes. I can't find another tier 3. Lettuce, incredible. Egg, much better against, much better in the non-mirror. You can bust melon with it. You get value out of it. Feels a lot better. Not in the mirror, it's a bit worse. Speaking of a bit worse, we have stuff like pita bread and tomato. Yeah, they're not doing too hot. Pita bread at least works with, high health stuff, but manatee, other than that, though, it feels kind of bad as opposed to, like, its counterparts with melon. The guy that blocks 20 damage. Yeah, that one's pretty good. And then tomato is just a crocodile, but it isn't even start of battle, so it feels kind of like shit. It's very easy to get a potato. It's very easy to put a melon or a lemon. It's very easy to get over 8 health. And for it to be a tier 6 food, kind of bad. What else am I forgetting? Pretzel, kind of shit. But it is okay. It is twice as strong as an apple. Only problem is you get it 11 turns later. Yeah, you can see how that's a little bit of a problem. You don't have any tier 3s. Yeah, you can use it, but most of the time you're probably going to have Weasel, Beta Fish, Baboon, Flea, something like that, because they're so strong and you can't get rid of them. So it's probably really never going to be 4-4. Yeah, feels really bad. Tier 5 foods, what do you have? Onion. Onion is like okay. It only works when it works with the certain pets that it works with. You can, I guess you can have like monkey with like, front German Shepherd with onion. Like that works, but that's like a weird case. Banana though, that's probably S tier too. Banana's insane. It has so many things it works with, and you can get a monkey out of manatee. God, banana's good. Avocado. Avocado's insanely strong. But I have been using it less and less. I've been more on the tempo train, less on the like longevity of the team. If I have a gold build, it's insane. But if I don't have the gold build, I really don't be buying much of them, I'd say. I think that's about it, right? Cherry's a bit better than it used to be before. Not too much better, but it's still solid. Chocolate cake has its use cases. Pretty good, all things considered. Great tempo. I think that's it, right? Tier 4, am I missing something? Tier 4 has banana, waffle, potato. Potato's good when potato's good. Not much to say about it than that. I think it's just a really solid piece of tech food. Kind of sucks that you have to buy it, but you have to buy it. You don't really have anything else. There's no protective equipment, really, so it feels kind of bad. What tier 5 foods are there? Durian, I said durian was insane. Onion. Oh, and chocolate. Get out of here. Get the fuck out of here. We all know chocolate's insane. That'll do it for me, though. Hopefully, you learned something. And if you disagree with me, eat my ass. But also, you can tell me in the comments. I think this is fairly accurate for mirror and non-mirror, trying to put them together as best as I could there. These are just the pets that I buy the most, and then the pets that I buy the least. And the pets I buy the most work out really well. They feel really strong. The pets I buy the least, when I buy them, it normally doesn't feel too good. And I end up losing more. So, I think that's sort of, it's all based on my experience. If your experience is different, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Politely smack that like button's ass on your way out. And you know what? Have a wonderful day.